This is the only video you need to watch for NRL Fantasy Buy Rounds. Welcome back, guys. I'm Longy. Got a couple of special guests here today as well to talk to you about the buy rounds, the origin period, the changes to the rules that happened this year, and how you're going to raise in the ranks through this chaotic period. Now, I'm going to throw around here first. Monty, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Buy rounds coming up. You got to start your plan. It's very important, but otherwise, I'm looking forward to it.
Mate, red hot. And we got the Turtle here too. Mr. Shy Turtle himself ranked 24th place. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me. Rename myself the Casual Turtle now. Been quite popular on the Discord. I'm pretty active on there too, trying to help as much as I can and also receiving help from others because great place to share ideas. And yeah, here for the buy rounds because I've been planning for this for quite a while now. And if anyone checks my team over the past few weeks, it's like each trade is like very calculated towards the buy rounds. So here we are, and we're gonna all try to help everyone else.
Mate, the buy round master coming in here, ranked 24th is epic. If you do want to chat to Turtle as well, he's on the Discord there too. And if you want to check out Monty's other stuff, it's on Quickfire Fantasy on Instagram and TikTok. Now, let's tear into these buy rounds here. So we've got a few things to talk about. We're going to talk about the teams with good schedules, talk about the origin players and how it affects them, and talk about some of our targets as well as the buy planning spreadsheet that Turtle has here too. Now, firstly, early buy rounds. This is a bit of a breakdown of how teams lay out. So some of these teams play both round 12, round 13, which is quite soon. Some of them play only round 12, some play only round 13. So the traffic light system there pretty much indicates how we feel about these different teams. But from the green teams here, these are teams you probably want to target at this stage. Turtle, I'll throw to you first. Which of these teams is your favorite and why?
I really like the Roosters here. So Roosters obviously play all the major buy rounds. They have a buy this week, so you might not be targeting them this week, but over the next 2 weeks, they're going to be red hot buys, especially players like Siwa Wong and Nafu White, who has dual position. They're very, very big hot targets. Another spicy one would be Teddy if he doesn't get picked for Origin. Maybe don't get him next week or this week. Maybe literally wait for the Origin teams to be named before picking him up. But if he doesn't make Origin, he's a red hot buy. They play all the major buy rounds. They have a single buy, like a singular buy, as in like they don't share the buy with anyone else. So if you have 2 or 3 of those through the buy period and you have enough depth in your squad, you're going to do fine. But I probably wouldn't get 4 or more.
Yeah, Teddy's a scorching hot option. I agree. He's one for round 12. I'm kind of loosely saving a roster slot for him just in case he pops up because I think he'd be red hot. And Monty, how about you, mate? What are you thinking?
And now this may come across bias as a Manly fan, but I think Manly.
Bias.
We're going straight there, all right. But if you look at Manly's schedule, they don't play all the major buy rounds. And you have players who won't make Origin, like Garrick and Devanga. They play all the major buy rounds. Like, I'll take any reason to buy a Manly player, but I just think no major buy rounds, not Origin players, Tavanga, Garrick, maybe Takiaho, maybe Turbo if he doesn't get picked. So I'm going Manly here.
Manly, yeah, they're underrated, I will say, because the options haven't been that good at Manly recently, whereas the Roosters, everyone's got a bunch of Roosters players. But Manly, they've sort of fallen under the radar. You know, a lot of their good players play Origin. A guy like Turbo, we're going to talk about him in a bit, but I actually reckon he's a smoky as well. But for me, I'm going a different way, and this should be no surprise to anyone who watches the channel. I've gone the bloody Newcastle Knights, who, turned it around, and they don't have a bye till round 18, right? So they have this uninterrupted run. They play both round 12, 13, then they play 14, 15, 16, 17 as well. And they've got about 7 fantasy relevant options and a Titans matchup this week. Like, I just look at it and go, you have to have Dylan Lucas in your team right now, and you have to through this Origin period too, especially with Jacob Preston going down. So that's kind of how I see that breaking down. But yeah, 3 really good options, and that's probably a bit of a summary of the best options there. So Newcastle, Sea Eagles, Roosters, they're very hot through the early buy period and through it. The Warriors, Eels, Panthers, and Raiders are a little less appealing. They play round 12. They mostly don't play round 15. The Raiders come back for round 18, but generally across the board, you're pretty happy getting players of any of these teams here as long as they don't play Origin. You just need to balance it out with your squad. So I'm going to throw across to you again, Turtle, and just sort of have a look at this red section here. So they don't play round 12. Is it a case of you should only trade players in who play round 12 at this point? Or do you think there's an argument to be made for balance here and getting a few guys like Scott Drinkwater or some of these other options as well?
I think you can hold probably two of the players from one of any of those teams. Most people have Couchman. I don't have Couchman. Kind kind of anti-potted him and he hurt for a little bit, but then he kind of came back down. Last week, he looked like he had a bit of a niggle and came back on and scored a whole bunch of extra
Made
points.
that Gula injury. I was sitting right behind him. He was not coming back on.
Yeah.
And then Gula does his shoulder. Oh, story of the year.
But then, like, I feel like during the Origin period, most people are going to be holding Payne Haas, Terrell May from that group. I'm going to try my best to hold Hubner. He's not really a superstar or anything, but if he gets the lock roll, which he has this week, and he can score me 40 points, I'm very happy to just hold him. I feel like if you have those three, like let's just say you have Couchman instead of Hubner, and you have Terrell May and Payne Haas, I feel like you can maybe fit one more from either Titans, Cowboys, or Storm. An easy one would be either Campbell or Drinkwater because their Origin schedule after round 12 is actually pretty good.
Yep.
Maybe not so much Storm. Storm's more in the later periods. But Campbell and Drinkwater are clear targets for me.
Yeah.
And I was considering getting them now, but I feel like I can wait until round 13.
Yeah, ideally you're going around 13. It's just some of them are going out of range in price. Like Campbell's got a reasonably low break even. Drinkwater has a very low break even right now, considering his production recently. I got on Sell and Cobbo last week, who that's a bit of a pod play, a bit of a speculator, but 55 points are basically no attacking stats and a big loss. I feel a bit vindicated. We'll jump into the buy schedule here, though, because this is a bit of a breakdown. So, guys, major thing to understand here is that round 12, round 15, and round 18, they are the major buy rounds. The weeks following those are the minor buy rounds. So round 13, round 16, and round 19. If you're a first-time fantasy player, definitely pay attention. But even if you played last year, there's a bit of a change here as well. You only have to play your starting 13 in any of these weeks. I really want to specify it's the starting 13, not the best 13 players in your team, a full starting 13. So positionally dependent there, you've got to play that starting 13 at their positions. This means that in round 12, if you have, let's say, 3 centers, for example, who are playing, so you've got Rob Toyer, you've got Herbie Farmworth, and you've got, I don't know, someone else like Braden Best or someone like that, you can only run 2 of those guys in that week. So you want to be really conscious of for round 12 in your planning day. You're not just buying all these random players at different positions. You're not stacking up 4 halves. You're getting players at the right positions there, and you're not wasting extra players there. And you're running 10 players with 3 guys on the bench that you couldn't use. So that's the big thing to factor in here. But look, Monty, I'll throw to you here. When you look at this planner here, and we'll go through the Origin in a second as well, what jumps out at you here, and what are some of the storylines you're looking at for the early period or also for the late period?
Well, the first thing that I try to look at whenever I see a chart like this is you look at the teams with the biggest white gaps. So we have a look. We got the Knights, Manly even, and even after, like for example, the Cowboys. If you look at the Cowboys, they have a bye in round 12. They don't have another bye to around 26.
Yeah, that's epic.
So you just got to look for those white gaps, and then they're usually teams that you can target. But then again, even like the Titans as well, like Jaden Campbell, I might look to pick him up in round 13. But yeah, just to reiterate what you said, those positional things. Like I got Riley Smith last week, and with Mamazelis down, I was looking to buy a Brayley this week, but then I realized you can only play one hooker. So now I've had to redo my trades. But yeah, look for those white gaps and Knights, Manly, and then a couple Rabbitohs even. Like there's quite a few teams here. You just got to look hard.
Yeah, we'll pop this in the Discord as well, so everyone can have that too. Otherwise, just take a photo or a screenshot on your phone there. But what you mentioned there was interesting. So you talked about the hooker position. It's a bit cooked right now. Like hooker is cooker. But with hooker, if you got Riley Smith in your team, he's a pure hooker. So you can't get another hooker that's exclusively a hooker, but you can get someone who plays that dual. So someone like Jazz Tavanga or someone like Aaron Clark. Like these guys are options that Clark was hot a few weeks ago, a bit expensive now. Jazz Tavanga, Turtle. Talk about this one.
I'm pretty hot on Jazz.
You're on this, aren't you? You're on this.
I'm heavily on this. So as a Riley Smith and Aaron Clark owner, so I have a hooker who only plays hooker with not Riley Smith. I can use Aaron Clark as a mid. I'm still looking forward to bringing in Jazz Tavanga to fill in that extra mid role. We need 3 mids. Most people have the holy trinity trifecta of Terrell May and Payne Haas and Isaiah Yeo.
Isn't it nice?
And then most people have the backup of Horsburgh as well. So you're already carrying 4 mids. Most likely people are going to be trading out at least one of those. And then during these major buy rounds, you do need 3 mids every single round. Same with the minor buy rounds, actually. Yeah. So because you can only field 13. So to get someone who's dual position, Jazz Tavanga most likely will go. I'll play him in my mid position. And then even though I have Riley Smith and Aaron Clark, because looking at this buy chart, Riley Smith and Aaron Clark do not play round 15 or 18, and I will need a hooker for those weeks. And let's just theoretically think that Gerbo plays Origin. Croker comes back in a couple of weeks. Jazz Tavanga goes back to lock, plays that 50, 60-minute role, gets you 40, 50 points. He might be up and down during the minor buy rounds, but during the major ones, he's someone you can rely on. And hopefully by round 15, Riley's made me enough money. I can move him on. I don't really need a third, fourth hooker. Yeah. And if I had just Tavanga to lean on for those rounds, then he could definitely fill a spot for me.
Yep. Yeah, and you don't want to tie up a boatload of cash in the middle forward spot, because if you're keeping Yo, Haas, May not guaranteed for Origin, by the way. He's in my Origin team 100%, but I keep hearing, Jacob Safidi might get picked over him, or Gerbo, which feels insane to me, but we don't know what Laurie Daly's going to do. He's a crazy, crazy coach. But you don't want to tie up too much money in that middle forward set, because you've got those big dogs there. You probably have someone like Tarpanay or Fanua Blake or McInnes, one of these guys too. So you need to kind of round it out with Jazz Tavanga at under 400K, or Jacob Safidi at 400K, or one of these options that's buy friendly and fills those gaps, but isn't a regular starter in your middle forward set. Otherwise, you end up with 6 middle forwards who are all 700K plus, and team's a little out of balance. Everyone's backing up for Origin. It's a bit of a mess there. Monty, anyone else who you want to talk about as a buy-friendly option, and any other schedules that really jump out?
I think we've touched on it. I mean, the Titans, and I'm looking for like Titans and Cowboys players who have that buy for the first round 12, but then don't have another buy until that 18 or even further. Like even the I was going to say Dolphins, but not the Dolphins. Rabbitohs, even Jamie Humphreys could be one to target in the halves. But Titans, obviously Campbell, Drinkwater, and Humphreys. They're my three that I'll be looking at after round 12.
Throw some other names in here too. So when you go to the Rabbitohs, Ewan Aitken is getting dangerously cheap, and he's a 55 guy when he plays in the back row. He's back to the back row this week. You can lock down that spot for the next couple of weeks, come back in round 13, be in that spot, 580K. He'll be in my team for sure. Humphreys you mentioned there as well. I think Jackson Purdue, and the conversation about him needs to factor this in as well, because he's got that buy in round 12, Purdue. So you see with the Cowboys there, they're at about 10th if you're watching along at home. But then he doesn't have a buy after that. And the Cowboys are a team that don't lose too many troops to Origin, so they should be pretty close to full strength. I guess they don't have Cotter and Nanai potentially, but I don't think it's going to affect them as much as it'll affect other teams. So I think Purdue could get hot through that period, but then you look at the fact he's 550K and you think, maybe we move on from him. I'm just going to jump into this next section, though, and go at Origin players, because there's a few guys I want to talk about here. And this is the buy schedule. If you factor in that a player will miss games due to Origin. So if you guys are new to this, a player won't play the week before they play Origin. So those weeks are round 12, round 15, round 18. So those rounds where there are those major buy rounds are also the rounds where Origin players don't play. And then following Origin, the players may or may not back up because they play on a Wednesday and their game might be a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. So we see probably about 70% of players back up from Origin, and about 10 to 20% of those come out with a pretty terrible performance and play 30 minutes a day for Feeder last year, who absolutely screwed me over. But but for Origin here, this is where we talk about when I'm talking about Jacob Kiraz and being a big fan of Kiraz's scoring, but being worried about him making Origin. This is where this comes up. Because you go to the Bulldogs here, so they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on this list if you're watching along. And if Kiraz makes Origin, which is a chance, Lomax is due back maybe next week, maybe the week after. So Kiraz might sneak onto that Origin spot, but Kiraz would then miss round 12. He'd have a bye in round 13. I believe he plays Parramatta round 14. Then he has Origin again round 15, potentially if they win and he plays well. A bye in round 16, and then plays the Panthers round 17, and then Origin again round 18. So you've got a stretch where he misses 4 of 5 games, or 5 of 7 games in a run there. So Kiraz goes from being the perfect player who covers all the major buy rounds to someone who misses all those Origin games and is a bit of a disaster to have in your team. So that's the one thing where I think if you think Kiraz is making Origin, do not buy him. And that's where someone like Ruben Garrick, for your Manly Sea Eagles, could be a more interesting option, because I think they average about the same. Kiraz is in hot form, but I think they average about the same, and I think Garrick is a near certainty of not making Origin.
Yes, and with Garrick, he kicks goals as well, and Manly can put on some scores as well. And then if Turbo doesn't play Origin, he just gets so much more ball. So you look at this schedule and you say Garrick, I'd rank Garrick over Karaz as of right now with no Origin. With no Origin for Garrick and Origin for Karaz.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And even with let's say it's a 30% chance of making game one kind of thing, 40% chance, you still have Garrick ahead?
I'd still have Garrick ahead. Garrick's proven. So is Karaz. It's very tough, but Garrick just for me.
Don't chase last week's points. And total, anyone else that you're looking at here that could be a total disaster for fantasy coaches?
So I don't have him, but I do see him in a lot of teams, like Connor Watson.
Ooh,
so
yeah.
I feel like he's probably a red hot sell this week, because Roosters also miss 5 out of those 7 games. So they got Origin, the 3 Origins. They got a bye in 14 and 17. It's a bit easier to hold Roosters, as I said earlier, but because of Origin and they have the buys, if they're part of the Roosters, Bulldogs, or Manly who play Origin, then avoid them at all costs. Yeah.
Yeah, with the Roosters there too. Those are minor, or not minor buy rounds. They're basically non-buy rounds, right?
Yeah, sorry.
So
Single
round
buy
14,
rounds.
round 17. A big thing I want to hammer here is you've got this issue with Roosters right now where people have 3 or 4 Roosters, couple of injuries, and they're totally stuffed this week. In those weeks, you have to play a full 17. So round 14, round 17, they're the 2 weeks in this schedule here. We have to play a full 17. So if you're carrying a bunch of Roosters and Watson makes Origin and then also misses those games, you're putting yourself in a tough situation in the week that should be a bit of a gimme for you there. So yeah, if he makes Origin, he's definitely a sell. Gus Crichton is the same. I sold Gus Crichton a few weeks ago, and his scoring's gone to absolute crap since then. But Gus Crichton was one who, he's going to make Origin for sure. Like you said, missed 5 of 7 games. It's absolutely brutal. Are there any other players here? Because there's some players who are in Origin contention that people are talking about. Any other players that you guys are eyeing off here that could be really bad or potentially really good if they don't make the team?
Really bad or really good?
I'll throw a few names up here. Latrell Mitchell is one that's been chatted about as potentially not making the team. It's mostly tabloidy stuff right now, but again, Laurie Daly could do anything. Corey Horsburgh is no guarantee, in my view, to make the team, especially with the HIA this week. So I'll talk about Horsburgh here because Raiders are right down the bottom of this graphic. But Horsburgh, if he makes Origin, he mainly just misses the Origin weeks and then has to back up in a Canberra side that can afford to rest him. That's my concern there. So I think he'd be a soft one to keep through the Origin period. But if he doesn't make it, then he's a middle forward in round 12 and round 13. So kind of solves a problem for a lot of coaches, right?
I've got an Origin one. If you want to go back to that.
Yeah.
Now, there's been rumours, Kalen Ponga, if he doesn't get selected for Queensland, I know it's a very low chance that he doesn't get picked, but if he doesn't get picked for Queensland, Ponga could be a wing fullback for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and he's got the Titans this week and the Eagles next week, who, they can attack, but both those teams aren't defending much right now. So, yeah, Ponga, I'll tell you what, I'm an overall coach, but Ponga is tempting. He's very tempting. Total, you're in a good spot, ranked 24. How do you feel about Ponga?
I have been holding Ponga so long. I had him in round 1, so I've held him this entire year. And every single week, especially when he was underperforming, everyone kept asking, "What are you doing with Ponga? Are you holding Ponga?"
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, I am. And every single week, he kept performing poorly. And I'm like, nope, still very stick stubborn. Keep holding him. And I'm like, the closer it got to Origin, I was like, he's still a hold. And if he performs really well, that's really good.
Yep.
Then it's going to put everyone else who doesn't have him in a bit of a pickle because they're going to be like, hey, do I buy him? Is he going to make Origin?
Yep.
Make people think twice about it. And I'm like, it's too close to Origin to maybe run that gamble. However, I am hoping that he doesn't play Origin because Knights have a great bye schedule. And even if he just doesn't play the first one, maybe Billy Slater's worried about that. Was it rib cartilage injury that he's carrying? He's got a little bit of a niggle and he comes off the field early if the Knights are winning as well. So maybe Slater's like, Origin's very, very physical game. We saw Reece Walsh get knocked out in game 1 last year.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you really want to have someone carrying an injury? Same with like New South Wales, like when they had Turbo and he gets injured and then Damien Cook's playing in the centres. You kind of don't really want to have too many injury affected players or injury prone players. And Kalen Pong has definitely had his fair share of injuries. So I definitely am hoping that he doesn't play at least for the first game. And then even if he doesn't play round 12, do people pick him up? Because then he's a chance to play round 15. as well.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm in a great position where I have him. I don't have to make that decision. I just keep holding him until the wheels fall off and enjoy the cash rises now.
A lot of people are going to back themselves into a corner, and they're not going to have flexibility to do that. So they're loading up their teams. I'm seeing a lot of teams that are, proudly showing they're set for round 12. Okay, you've given yourself no movability now for the next few weeks. So I'm personally keeping a slot open for Turbo, Tedesco, Ponga. I don't know where it's going to go, but one of those guys will be a viable option in round 12. So I think you've raised a good point there, because you need to keep that flexibility if you don't have Ponga or don't have these other guys, and try to keep a couple of slots open in your roster where you can move players. I'll shout out too, there are some Origin players who are definitely worth holding. So let's go through a few teams here. But firstly, close to the bottom here, fourth from the bottom, Tigers. So Tigers have those 3 Origin weeks. All their buys are within those Origin weeks. So their poor Origin schedule for a non-Origin player, it actually is good for a guy who plays Origin. So if Terrell May makes the Origin team, for example, let's say Terrell plays 40 minutes in Origin, a pretty small amount of time for him, a much more physical game, right? But that's a half game for Terrell May at this stage. So I think he's the kind of guy who, especially with the Tigers trying to win, trying to push into the top 8, will back up and we'll play round 13, we'll play round 14, 16, 17, 19. Doesn't have any buys outside of that. Pretty easy hold here. Same case with, Isaiah Yeo, Nathan Cleary for the Panthers. Again, no buys outside of those major Origin weeks. They're struggling a bit right now. They're going to be fighting for a top 8 spot. Yo always backs up, but I think Cleary's going to have to back up this year too, because they really don't have that secondary leader in the halves. Looking at these guys, are you guys thinking of selling any of these Origin players, maybe a Payne Haas or anyone else from your team, or are you holding on to most of these guys?
Well, a couple weeks ago, I think around 4 or 5, I was planning on, all right, I'm going to move on Haas to someone, move on Cleary to someone. But now I'm like, they're too valuable to sell. You might as well just keep them. But a couple of, you just got to hold them, I feel. That's my opinion. I'm holding them. How about you, Turtles?
I did have a bit of a play around with it. I could potentially hold all 4, but then you're just running a lot of cheapies, which is it might actually work, because like if you have Riley Smith, Jazz Tavanga in your mids, I bought Aaron
Superstars,
Clark.
mate.
I bought Aaron Clark a while ago, so I got all that cash in. After round 12, I can easily sell Aaron Clark for someone, let's say 600k or 700k range, and still be holding all 4 of those players. I feel like out of the 4, Isaiah Yeo is probably the easiest to sell. It's good, but just because Payne Haas, Terrell May, and Cleary all have that huge upside, whereas Yo's Mr. Consistent, always getting you around that like high 50s, high 60s area, somewhere between there. But then Haas most likely doesn't play as many minutes backing up for Origin. But Haas is a different beast. He can score 60 in 40 minutes. So if you give him 25 minutes in the first half, 15 minutes in the last, and especially if they're in the back foot and they need to play more minutes, then he can easily score you. I'll be happy with a 55 from Haas in the backup weeks. And then I would expect him to go bonkers in round 14.
Yeah, these other options aren't beating the door down either. Like, you look at the rest and go, Joe Tarpanay, he's in form right now, right? But he's very expensive. And then you go to, Max King played 43 minutes last week. Like, he's not really convincing. Noah Blake had a game with no tackle breaks, no offloads, 43 minutes as well. But the other options at these positions, like hooker, is dire right now. You don't have halves who are crushing it. You can only play 2 halves anyway. And we've already made a lot of money. So we've already got Dylan Lucas, Herbie Farnworth in our teams, these sorts of guys. So I just kind of look at it and go, hey, like, I'm not going to be able to use that money that well. Like, I actually would prefer to get, King Tongia and, Jazz Tavanga and these types of players instead of, rushing out and sort of getting these more expensive guys. So I'm leaning towards holding them at this stage and just, keeping it simple. And if an opportunity comes up to move them on and really grab some points, I'm going to do it. But at this stage, I don't really see that opportunity arising. And, you factor in the fact that we've been forced to sell Jacob Preston at nearly 800K. We were forced to sell, Jaden Campbell a little while back. Like a bunch of these options that we really liked, who were going to cover the Origin period, just sort of fell off on us, and we're really struggling in those spots now. Any other Origin players, guys, that you guys have, or any Origin players that are a bit niche that you think people can hold? Like, I've got Cam Munster. I'm not going to hold him, obviously. I'm going to hold him 2 more weeks just to pray that he has that breakout game. But I'm trying to think of some other guys. Like, I might hold Selwyn Cobbo for a little bit. And the rationale there, so I'll talk through the rationale of buying him as well. At fullback, absolute monster in reserve grade, has backed it up in first grade. Historically, an average of 42 on the wing. The last year he played on the wing, priced at a 32. Has the Titans the week he goes back to the wing when Walsh comes back as well. So I don't mind him in that matchup. I can look to sell him in round 15 if he makes the Origin team and it is a move. So a guy like Cobbo, I'm going to hold on to a little bit longer. But is there anyone else that we're thinking of that could be a hold or even a target?
I think, there's rumors that Mitchell won't play Origin.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't play week 12, because I think Rabbits have a bye then, he would be great over this period, because if you look at the Rabbits bye, they don't have anything. There's a 5-6 week window where they don't have any buys. If he doesn't get selected for Origin 2, then he's going to be top 2 wing fullbacks during that time. I think the other option would probably be either Drinkwater or Jaden Campbell. But yeah, all of them kick goals. All of them. You want at least one of those if Latrell doesn't make it.
I would say it'd be crazy though for him not to make it. Like I get, he didn't play this week, and I feel like the selectors are very, very short-sighted when they look at things. But I think Latrell will come out and play well and get into the team. Who's the competition there? Like Braddon Best hasn't been great this year. Like I'm a Braddon Best lover. I think that guy's awesome. But
if it's
haven't
not,
liked him.
If it's not game 3, Braddon Best doesn't get selected. Braddon Best is a game 3 specialist, which is unfortunate, but it's game 1, unfortunately. Sorry, Bradman, but it's game 1.
Yeah, bring Latrell in, and then Stephen Crichton's obviously being selected, right? And I think that you don't think so? Or?
I'm just thinking like another outside of Bradman Best, Crichton, and like you still have Turbo, and they had a bye last week, so everyone's kind of not really thinking about him. But I'm tipping Manly to beat the Sharks this week, because Manly at home have been very, very strong. I think they've only lost 1 home game this year. And if Turbo comes out, puts on a show, he might actually edge out Latrell. So I don't know. Stephen Crichton can play both sides of the center, and then Turbo does really well at center as well. He demands to be tackled when he's running the ball, and he draws in plays. He's really dynamic in attack. And if the Blues are on the front foot and their forwards are going hard, because I feel like their forward pack's a lot bigger, then you have these dynamic backs in Turbo, which would be I'm very scared.
Yep.
As a Queensland supporter.
Clean sweep, baby.
As a Queensland supporter. Queensland has not beaten a New South Wales side which ran Latrell and Turbo and didn't healthy Latrell and Turbo.
Yeah.
Stephen Crichton has emerged as a defensive wall. Like no one gets through him. He's great for Origin, very competitive. So it's like one of these other two have to take one of those spots. Whichever one doesn't is a red hot buy, because both after round 12, even before that. So Turbo plays all the major buy rounds if he doesn't get picked for Origin. Rabbits play everything in between. 12 and 19, I believe. So one of those guys, probably a hot buy. So leave room in your team. I know everyone's got like Fletcher Sharp, Tamale. Everyone's backlines are stacked for round 12. But because we have flexibility, you can probably throw Dylan Lucas into your edge. You can throw Tamale into your center, and then you can free up a spot in your wing fullback. One of these wing fullbacks are going to be a red hot buy for you. So,
Yeah, no, I don't mind that at all. The other option there is Turbo might play wing. I don't think it wouldn't be what I'd choose, but he could be on the wing. Monty, do you think he looks fully fit though? I've watched him and I haven't really felt like
it's tough. I mean, he doesn't look. He's one of those players who just wants to play footy, regardless. He could have a little newer. He just wants to play footy. So, I as a Manly fan, I hope he doesn't play Origin and just focuses on Manly. But I think he just needs that extra 1 or 2 weeks off, so he's properly back. He can ready to, destroy teams as he once did.
Yeah, he's very, very interesting through that period. And then we've got your buy planner here, Turtle. So this is, guys, just to explain at home, a bit of a spread here. So you got the full roster. So you go through hooker, middle forward, edge, half, center, wing, fullback. Go through the interchange, so scoring players, and the emergencies as well. In a minor or major buy round, so round 12, 13, 15, 16, 18, 19, only this starting 13 counts. I'm really just hammering. I know a lot of you guys know this already. I'm just hammering this so no one gets any surprises. Only that starting 13 counts in those rounds, and then every other round interchanges count as well. Now, Turtle, talk us through here. What's your thinking? Why do you build this, and how does this add value to you? And then, what's some of the strategy that's gone into this?
So for an overall coach, buy planning is very, very crucial to your overall score because during these buy periods, you want to field a pretty decent team. Like, even though I said I'm pretty hot on getting Jazz Tavanga, I'm looking at my team. A lot of people are going to be running either Savala or Sandon Smith, maybe even Metcalf if they have him as their halves. I'm going to be running Fogarty and Hines, and I'm pretty solid with those halves. I also have Garrick and Kiraz, and Sharp in my backs. So I'm looking at my wing fullbacks, my halves, my back line. I'm like, yeah, there's Jenkins maybe and Tamale, but I'm like, the rest are pretty solid guns. So maybe I can go cheaper on the mids. One of the good reasons for doing buy planning is, so I'm going to take last week, for example. I had the option to sell either Toya or Hubner. Regretfully, I sold Toya.
Oh.
And the worst part about it is I even asked you which one, and you said, hold Toya, sell Hubner.
Oh, I'm sorry, mate. You should listen.
I should have listened. But in my defense, if you look at my buy planning, Hubner is very crucial to this. I expect him to hold that lock position, get 40 points through the buy rounds, and I've highlighted him in green here. So he's going to be very crucial for my mids. If I want to hold Payne Haas, Terrell May at the bare minimum, and maybe Yo, I definitely need more mid cover. And Hubner kind of just fills that role. If I get Jez Tavanga, he's also going to fill that role. And there's a couple of empty spots in my buy planning. And if you look at the later weeks, past 15, there's a lot of spaces because if you look all the way at the bottom, these are my sells. So I use this buy planner to be like, okay, when can I sell my players? So if on round 13, I'm like, do I sell Riley Smith? I probably can because I don't really need him anymore. I've used him for that round 12 hooker position, and maybe I can move on to someone that I do need. And people that I do need, I've put in wing fullback. I really want either Drinky or Campbell just to solidify that wing fullback position for the rounds after round 12. So in my defense, Toya went absolutely bonkers, but Hubner's going to play a bigger role for me during this time, especially because my wing fullbacks, my centers, I have Kiraz, I have Tamale, I have Garrick, I have Sharp. These all cover a lot of the buy round. And I'm like, where do I really fit Toya in if I'm going to be picking up Drinky and Campbell? Whereas I can hold Hubner, I can hold these trades, you know, and I feel like everyone's going to be starting to mass trade. I feel like soon we're going to start being able to do 4 trades, and then
people get excited.
People get excited. Yeah. People are going to mass change their sides, and I'm like, I might be doing the same as well. Injuries happen as well. We see Jaden Campbell going down, Humphreys. I want these players back in my team, so we use the trade to get rid of them, and now we're going to use the trade to get them back in the next following weeks. So I know earlier, in the past few weeks, you argue that, you don't mind trading because during the minor buy rounds, we only have to field 13. So it's not as tricky as it used to be last year. So you don't have to be constantly chopping and changing your team. There are a lot of players you can just hold. But then, I don't know. For me, I'm like, I really want to up my team value. I'm sitting at 13.4 million at the moment. I want to get closer to that 14.5 million by maybe 15 by the end of the season. And to do that, you have to sell your cheapies. I got Riley Smith. I'm happy to sell him in round 13. Hopefully he's made me a bit of cash, 100, 150K. Maybe I just hold Jazz Tavanga. Maybe I just hold Hubner. They're going to be slow burns, very, very slow with Tavanga because I do expect him to have reduced minutes during the minor buy rounds. But during the major buy rounds, he's going to play a role for me. And I have a lot of question marks in my mid. So in all the major buy rounds, I have an empty slot in my mid. If I get Jazz Tavanga, if he gets me a 40-50 during that time, if Gerbo somehow plays Origin, he goes to lock. So I'm like, it's a good buy for me at the moment. And then the other one was I'm targeting Jazz Tavanga and Dylan Lucas. So I don't really need Katoga in my team. So I'm happy to sell him and then play him as my edge during round 12. But then also because he's that dual position, he fills up a lot of spots for my round 15 as well, which I have a couple of question marks in at the moment. So those are my key targets. And if you use your buy planner, it kind of helps you realize who you should be holding. And don't get me wrong, I'm very, very sad that I lost Toya, but I'm very happy that I still have Hubner.
You got to run your logic. Right? And look, the reason you're in the top 24 is because you make your own calls and you don't listen to everyone else anyway. So, it doesn't always work out, but I think long term that one will. Hubner got into the lock spot as well. Toya benefited from an early injury to Sandon Smith and them running all the ball down the other edge. When Sandon comes back, we know he demands the ball and loves to run it himself. So that might slow down for Toya. But for most coaches, I would say Toya is a bit of a hold. Any thoughts here, Monty, on this buy planner here? Anything that really jumps out at you in particular with the planning?
Well, first of all, I love a good buy planning spreadsheet. So you've done a great job here. I think I use a spreadsheet once a year, and that's for NRL fantasy buy rounds. So no, really, you've done really well. I really like how you've got your thoughts down as well, and that's obviously something to. So you're not just focusing on 1 week; you're focusing on in advance, which is very important in fantasy. But I feel like you're fairly set out. I mean, you've kind of got your core players, which you're holding. Nicholson. Oh, I'm frustrated I didn't get on Nicholson. He's killing it recent, but yeah, I'm really liking it.
Yeah, Nicholson's a crazy one. Like him keeping that 80-minute roll when Hoskin came back. I don't know where the minutes are going because everyone just seems to be producing at Canberra, which I don't know if it's going to maintain going forward. And I guess the other thing we got to think about here too with these buy periods. So if you guys are running into the buys, you're probably thinking, all right, cool. It's a pretty nice roster, but there's no Payne Haas, there's no Nathan Cleary, there's no Terrell May. Who's your captain? Who's your captain? That's the big question, right? And there's a chance for a pod captain to really pop off during these buy periods. I will say we have 3 real captains. So pod captains are on every week, which I love about fantasy this year, by the way. Yeah. It's not just set and forget one guy. It's whatever you really want to do. Now, going into these, I'll throw to you first, Monty. Which captain jumps out at you in these round 12 matchups in the games where no Origin players are playing? Some of these teams relatively unaffected.
Well, one of them plays in the first game, Herbie Farnworth. If Stephen Crichton's not there defending Herbie Farnworth, I think Herbie could go on and score 60, 70. It's a really pod captain option.
Yeah.
But I'm really liking Herbie. I'm really liking Herbie.
Potty. That's very potty. Yeah. Are you going to do it?
If you ask me in round 12, I might.
It'd be good content, mate.
It'd be great content. Yeah.
All right, Herbie Farnworth. How about you, Turts?
So a part of my trade of getting rid of Toya, I bought Riley Smith and Nico Hines. The reasoning behind Nico Hines was I looked at this round 12 fixture and I'm like, out of these teams, who would be the most reliable captain? Because, we lose our 3 main captains, Terrell May, Haas, and Cleary. So it's like, I looked at this and I'm like, the most safest people would probably be Tarpanay and Hines. And I was like, I'm not ready to just jump on Tarpanay yet. So I was like, maybe I'll just get Hines. And then I have a captain for round 12 and round 15. So that's kind of what edged him a little bit ahead of Tarpanay at that stage. So I'm really liking Hines here. Sharks are basically unaffected from Origin. Yeah. So they're going to be running close to a full squad. Roosters, there's words about Teddy playing Origin. Yep. So Terry carries that team so hard.
Lenu, Crichton, Connor Watson.
There's a lot missing.
That's
so
guys,
Sharks can definitely show up here. They can put on a big score. Whether or not he's doing all these kick meters, because lately we kind of just want him to run the ball, get the try assist, and kick goals. And I feel like a full-strength Sharks side versus undermanned Roosters side, Sharks would put on a clinic here. So that's probably my captain.
Hines a good shout. That's probably where I'm leaning to. I'm going to throw a bunch of other names at you guys. I want you to give me a quick fire rating out of 10 on each of these guys. So Aaron Clark, caveat, Mitch Barnett makes the Origin side.
Is this for captain?
Yep.
Okay. 7.5.
Yeah, I'll go 7.
I think it's pretty safe if Barnett makes Origin. Joey Tarpanay, if Horsburgh makes Origin.
9. I think put him up there.
I'll say an 8.
What about Manny Nicholson?
Ooh,
I don't think it's that bad.
I reckon 7 with Aaron Clark. I feel like he'll play more minutes than Aaron Clark, but he has that try scoring potential.
Yeah, I'll go 7, 7.5 for Nicholson.
Interesting. Fogarty against the Warriors, relatively unaffected.
I have Fogarty and I'll put him at a 6. He's just so consistently that 50 to 60 guy.
Yeah, I'll say the same 6 for that.
You want that pop game. Okay. Yeah. If we go to the Sharks, Fanua Blake against a very understrength Roosters middle forward rotation.
I'll put him at a 6.5 because Sharks aren't really affected by Origin. So their middle rotation isn't going to change much and his minutes keep getting lower and lower. So if no one's playing Origin, then I don't expect much to change in that rotation. So yeah, 6 for me for AFB.
I'm going to go 9.
Ooh,
I think
try scoring
Try
potential.
scoring.
I do think try scoring
Yeah.
potential. Without that lean you punch on the bench, I reckon Sharks might change their rotation a bit, keep Fullback on for longer. And I just think against this Roosters forward pack during Origin, I reckon he'd go for a try.
I'll throw in Zach Docker-Clay will come in at hooker. He's awesome. I like him, but he's very undersized.
Yeah.
You're not going to have Lenu there. You know, it's going to be quite a light forward pack. And the Roosters' edges are relatively unaffected. So I think they'll be solid enough defensively on the edge. And
Yeah.
I agree. I think there'll be a bit of attack through the middle. I'm not going to captain him, but could be an option. And then Tedesco, if he doesn't make Origin. Angry Vengeance game.
8.5.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like
He's in form, man.
because
He's
they're
in form.
undermanned, and I said he carries the team.
Yeah.
If they're even more undermanned, he's going to try carry it as much, like way more.
Yeah, same here. 8.5, 9.
Kale Iro, people are talking about buying him.
Ooh.
This is, I mean, if you're going to buy him, you probably want to consider this, right?
Yeah.
As a captain, probably like a 4 or 5.
Yeah.
There's just so many other 7s and 8s and 9s that we've already
Yeah.
named. There's so
Yep.
many people
Yeah.
ahead of him. So yeah, probably a 4 or a 5 for me.
Yeah, same here.
And Nafahu White, I'm guessing he's probably in that similar sort of 6 range, right? Like
Yeah.
more minutes, but just not that upside.
Put him at 7.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
I think I looked at it last year, and Nafahu White, when Spencer Leniu and Connor Watson and Angus Crichton are out of the forward pack, he steps up like big time. So I'm
Yeah.
like, he can play 60 minutes if he really needs to, and maybe 65 if someone goes down. So he's got a decent enough PPM, but it's kind of chop and changey, unreliable. But during this game, he might actually be relied upon, like leaned on, by the rest of his team. So I'll put him at 6.5.
Yeah, I'll just go 5 there. Same with you, Longy.
Yeah. In this scenario last year, Terrell May did pump out 90 plus.
Yeah.
So, you know, the Roosters do have a history of it, but Terrell May is Terrell May. Nafahu White, I like him a lot, but Terrell May is a different beast. And in the Panthers Knights game, we go to the Panthers. Let's say Dylan Edwards doesn't make the team. Cleary does.
I'd say a 9.
Yeah.
Dylan Edwards without Cleary, I think he averages another
think
5,
low
6.
60s,
Yeah, like
yeah.
it's a good, and against this Knights team, if Pog is selected, Dylan Edwards is a great captain option.
I'm going to counter that with Alamotti kicks instead of Edwards.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
Edwards got an increase in his role, but also his points due to goal kicking. Take the goal kicking out, you might lose an extra 6 points, and he does get that extra boost when Cleary's out. But yeah, if Alamotti's kicking, I'll probably put Edwards at probably a 7.5, 8.
Yeah, he could be a pod to look at though. At that
Oh,
point, if he doesn't make Origin, not the best schedule, but decent. And then for the Panthers, what if I throw a real curveball in here, like a real crazy one? Let's say it comes out that Isaiah Papali'i wins the edge back row spot for the rest of the year, and you know they've just decided that wasn't great last week, but you know what he can do. Let's say he comes out in this next game, so this week because they had the bye in round 11, scores a 70, looks like his old self. Do you consider that at all? What's that rating? I'm throwing all the curveball. Put you guys on the spot here, but
I'd love to. I
Yeah.
remember only Papali'i 2 years ago, and he was just this
Yeah.
best set and forget.
captain
But-
rating though.
Captain rating, I'd give it a 6. There
Yeah.
are just so many other players I'd pick more. If
Yeah.
if I made a little birder team, probably would just for fun. But unfortunately, yeah, 6 for me.
I feel like it's going to be a 5 for me. It's pretty low. I expect Sorensen to be back. He'll take the left side. Liam Martin to play Origin potentially. So Isaiah Papali'i goes to the right side without Cleary feeding him ball on the right side. Maybe have Schneider there. Schneider's not really, he's a good kicker, but I don't really see him as a running ball runner, and he might not use Papali'i to his full potential, especially if he's playing on the right side. So I'll put him a bit low. Before we go to the next one, I'll put a curveball to you. Lindsay Smith.
Ooh,
Because Isaiah goes out,
Yeah.
he does step up, and he
Yeah.
usually plays lock
Yep.
during Origin.
There are some minutes on offer, and there's some work on offer in this game, 100%. Especially if Papali'i is sitting on the edge. I don't know if that's going to happen. I think Garner might go to that edge spot. Papali'i might go into the prop rotation. So I'll give you two answers. If Papali'i is on the edge, it's like an 8 out of 10, maybe an 8.5 out of 10. If Papali'i is in the prop rotation, maybe like a 7.5, 8 out of 10. I think he's solid. I just don't think he has that nuclear upside that I like out of a captain. Where we talk about Nico Hines, right?
Yeah.
He'd go 120 in this game. I keep saying that he never does it, but like he could do it. Knights here. I'm not going to go through every single one, but I'm going to throw a few names that you guys want you to give me your best and maybe your worst one. Fletcher Sharp, Dylan Lucas. Let's go Greg Marzu as well. And Kai Pearce-Paul.
I'll go first. I think Fletcher Sharp. If Ponga plays Origin, maybe Fletcher Sharp goes fullback. Maybe I'm pretty sure they still have David Armstrong. But Fletcher Sharp's kind of solidified his role at 6. He's doing great there. He's crucial to their attack. So out of that bunch, I'll probably pick Sharp for the upside.
Yep, Sharpie.
Yeah, I like Sharp for the upside. But then Dylan Lucas, if Cleary's not there, they'll have who will they have?
Probably Schneider.
So Lucas running at
Cole.
Schneider. Cole, if Cole's there, Dylan Lucas running at Cole's right shoulder all day. I mean, could be one, but I've got to back. Yeah, Sharp with the upside for me.
Yeah, I will say Lucas though. It's been a very solid base. Like he came back, he scored that 49 with no attacking stats. Could be a hot option. And then Seagulls Parramatta. It's probably not too much to talk about captain wise here. I mean, maybe, we're not going to say Kautonga or Riley Smith. Let's say you had Turbo in your team. You didn't make Origin. Do you think about that? Because Turbo averaged 91 year. I mean, it was COVID ball, so it's a bit different. But against Parramatta, a nuclear option or Garrick, like, do any of those jump out at you guys? As Tavanga, maybe?
Jazz is.
I'm going to keep saying this until you do it, by the way.
Jazz captain. I think Garrick over Turbo just because of the goal kicking. Turbo does create a lot of tries, but Garrick also scores them as well. And Garrick's the leading point scorer in the NRL at the moment because of his try scoring and mainly his goal kicking. So I feel like Garrick slightly edges out Turbo here. Not really anyone else. Maybe just Jazz.
Jazz, there we go.
Yeah, I like Garrick and Turbo. I feel like for me, it all depends if Lomax is picked. Because if Lomax isn't picked, I know Manly will target who would that be? Simonson, would it be? Yeah. I reckon Manly would target Simonson and then Turbo would clean up if that's the case. But I wouldn't, they're just, if I want to make another fun team, so I'll have a fun team with Papali as captain, I'll have another fun team with Garrick as captain.
How many teams are we making here?
Quite a few.
And then Doggies and Dolphins. And like, I'll throw a question at you guys. What would have to happen for Max King to become an interesting captain option? Like, do you need to see back-to-back 60-plus minute games? Or, Curran's going to be back for this one. What are your thoughts here?
For Max King to be in captain contention, he has to eat whatever Payne Haas and Terrell May eat. He has to go. He has to go that one step above. He's solid enough to get you that like 40 to 50 score, but he doesn't have that 60, 70, 80 in him. He has scored one big score this year, but
he's not a normal try scorer though. Right? That was a rarity.
Yeah, it's kind of rare. So he's not really a captain option
like
for
a
me.
6?
Yeah, probably like a 4.
Yeah, I'll go 4 or 5. Just doesn't have that captain upside that you want in the captain.
I'll drop him a 6 just because Curran will come back on the edge for Preston. So that middle forward rotation will still be depleted. Tupanua won't be back for this one.
Sam Hughes.
Yeah, Hughes, is he back soon?
I think round 12 maybe.
Oh, okay. Well, that might mess things up because Hughes is actually solid. But yeah, all right, that's captain. So we probably didn't answer that many questions there. We just sort of raised a lot of additional questions.
Although I would like to add, why aren't we captaining Nathan Cleary in round 12? Mitchell Moses will get picked alongside Luai. Cleary's the obvious number one captain choice.
Yeah, so if Cleary doesn't get picked, obviously easy captain choice. But if Cleary does get picked, there's a world where Moses doesn't, and they go with Luai. So maybe Moses can be a captain for Eels versus Manly. What do you reckon? Moses captain choice for that matchup? Who else do they lose? They lose Lomax.
That's it.
Eels?
Maybe Hopgood, but I doubt it.
No, he won't be. Sure. But for Lomax coming back hurts Moses though, because he loses the goal kicking. Right. So, and Sean Russell's been doing a bit of that goal kicking too. So I think Moses is that keen to hang on to it.
But for captain during this round, if Lomax goes to Origin, so he will get the goal kicking back for round 12.
Are we buying Moses though? Like,
we're not buying. We're just rating. We're just rating.
Oh, okay.
We're just What would you
like
rate
a draft league?
Yeah.
Manly probably win. Maybe Trey Evans will be out. If Manly are missing Trey Evans and Ola Kawatu and Turbo, let's say.
maybe Turbo.
Maybe. Then, if they're missing a bunch of guys, then, Moses is a good option. But I would need to be tipping Parramatta to captain Moses is how I see this.
Fair enough.
So let's go at 7 as of today.
I'll give him a 7, but this is not advice to buy him. It's just theory.
Yeah, I'll go
Yeah.
5 just to.
Beauty. Well, that's captains, guys. So look, this has been fun to record, by the way. It was a good fun, guys. But this is us done and dusted, guys, for your buy planning. So we talked about a bunch of options here. I'm going to give each of you a chance to give a last word. But from my perspective, it's really about thinking about your early and your late buys and sort of planning out your team a bit in that way. So for early buys, look at this here. Like you got the Knights, clear schedule. Warriors, pretty clear early. Eels, Manly, these types of teams. Raiders as well, to an extent. The Dolphins, the Sharks as well, and the Dogs here too. So you're looking at these players early on. Your plan is generally going to be to move a lot of those guys on for players who have better late schedules. So that's the Rabbitohs. I guess the Dolphins are still pretty solid late as well. The Dogs, Cowboys, Dragons. Dragons are actually fantastic, by the way. These types of teams. If you have some of these players as well from these later schedule teams like Hubner, like you talked about, Turtle, it's worth holding on to those guys and being a bit tighter on them as well. Turtle, any last words from you on the buy period?
I feel like everyone should make a spreadsheet. It probably only takes you 10, 15 minutes. If you want colors as well, maybe 20 minutes. But buy plan accordingly. Use a spreadsheet. Figure out who you actually want to keep on your team. Most people sold Hubner. Most people sold Toya. The only reason I sold Toya was I felt like I needed Hubner more. After round 12, you should definitely target people like Campbell, Drinkwater, Humphreys. They have great buy schedules. So I think I'm going to end on that.
And Monty?
And then obviously, I feel like targeting Knights and Manly players who don't play Origin, and hold your Roosters players that don't play Origin. Although they're on the bye this week, hold your Wongs, hold your Whites, and you'll be sweet for the bye rounds.
Can't get that one wrong. Lastly, I'll finish on here too, actually, because you've inspired me here with that spreadsheet talk. I'll make a spreadsheet for everyone in the private Discord as well. So I'll make one and we can clone it out and everyone can use that. I'll probably use Oz as a bit of a basis there, but something that everyone can fill in for themselves. And so if you guys do want that, the link will be in the description to join up on the Casual Athlete, join the private group, and you'll get access to that spreadsheet for buy planning as well. Or you can just copy Turtle's one. Either's fine with me, but good luck this year in the buys, guys. Trade hard, trade early. Saving trades is for weaklings. Let's get into it. Tear in.